In 2012, LinkedIn was hacked and nearly 6.5 million passwords were stolen by hackers. To make matters worse, in May 2016, LinkedIn discovered 100 million emails and hash passwords that are potentially leaked from the same attack. They can undo the past, but we can learn from it. Today we will look at what LinkedIn did wrong and what could have been better. Specifically, we will look at how they store passwords. One way to store passwords is to store them in a database in plain text. However, this is a horrible approach. The website administrator can see them. If they are stolen, then hackers can see them as well. LinkedIn is smarter than that. They store a hash version of the passwords. Cryptographic hash is a magical function that scrambles a word into another word that looks like random letters. Given a hash value, it is very difficult to find the original word. In addition, hash function is not random. Hashing the same word will always generate the same random letters. This is great for storing passwords because anyone looking at hash value won't be able to tell what the original password is. If an attacker has a stolen hash password, the only way he can figure out the original password is to guess a word, hash it, and check whether it is the same hash as the stolen hash. Depending on how powerful the computer is and how long the password is, it could take attacker hours or days or months before cracking the password. Note that the attacker cannot log in with the hash password. The reason is that hashing a hash will produce some other random words. Why don't we just design a hash function by ourselves and don't let anyone know what the hash function is? This is generally a bad idea. A bad hash function allows attacker to use collision attack. This means finding another word that has the same hash value as the original password's hash. In other words, the attacker doesn't need to find the original passwords. He just needs to find another word that has the same hash value and he can still log in. SHA-256 is a hash function designed by NSA and reviewed by scholars. As of 2019, no one has found a collision yet. It is widely considered to be cryptographically secure. Storing hash password was exactly what LinkedIn did before 2012. However, there is a problem with this approach. Attacker can use rainbow table attack. Rainbow table maps a word to its hash for all permutation of alphanumeric characters up to a certain length. Attacker can generate this table once and use it for the future attack. Or he can download a table from others who already generated it. The attacker can compare the stolen hash with the rainbow table to find the original password. What LinkedIn should have done is to salt the password. A salt is a random number and letters. When a user creates a password, LinkedIn server should generate a salt to be associated with the password. They should attach the salt to the password and hash the combined word. Now, the hash value is different from the value in rainbow table. Hackers can use a rainbow table to look up the user's password anymore. In database, salt can be stored with the password in plain text. It doesn't need to be encrypted. Now, if password and its salt are leaked, it is hard for attacker to crack the passwords. The attacker will need to attach the salt to every permutation of alphanumeric characters. Then the attacker needs to check whether the salt value is the same as the stolen hash. In addition, the attacker will need to do this for every password that he wants to crack. He can reuse the rainbow table that people have built before because those tables do not have any salt. Since it makes the attacker's job much harder, it's less likely that the password will be cracked even if they are stolen. What can you do to protect yourself? First, don't use an easy password. Here is a list of passwords that you should never ever use. They are the most common passwords from LinkedIn's password leak. Attackers would likely use a dictionary of common passwords like this to check whether or not they are your password. This is known as dictionary attack. If you use any of the password on this list, change it now. Instead, use a long and hard to guess password. XKCD gives an interesting suggestion on password. One common method takes a simple word and complicates it by substituting 0 for O and 4 for E. It is short and very difficult to remember. It is also easy for computer to guess. A slightly better method is a sentence. It is long and easy for you to remember. It is also relatively harder for a computer to guess. However, if it is a simple sentence, an attacker could still use dictionary attack on this by combining different common words. I would also suggest adding some number or symbols. Next, avoid having the same password on two different websites. One website may have great protection, but another website may have leaked your password. Having different passwords minimizes this risk. To help you remember, one idea is to add the name of the site to your password. Change your password periodically. The longer you use your password, the more likely it is that an attacker cracked your password. To help you remember, one idea is to add a number and increment it every time you change it. Lastly, use two-factor authentication if the website supports it. This means you will use password and another piece of data to log in. This other piece of data could be a website texting you a code. It could also be an app like Google Authenticator that will periodically generate a number. The idea is that even if an attacker has your password, they will not be able to log in because they are missing this other piece of data. Most major websites like Google and Facebook support some form of two-factor authentication. Thanks for watching. Remember, don't put watermelon in soy sauce.